Let's just jump right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring the absolute marvel that is your body's biological machinery, specifically your muscles. And stick around, because later on, we're going to uncover a completely game-changing digital tool that operates quietly in the background to help you master all this complex information. If you've ever wondered how your body actually generates raw power and how you can effortlessly memorize all that science, you are exactly in the right place. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by looking at the body's biological engines, break down the actual anatomy of a muscle, dive into the science of strength, categorize how we move, and finally, look at how to hack your study routine.
So let's kick things off with the foundation. Did you know you actually have 3 totally distinct types of muscle tissue?
It's true. We basically run on 3 main biological engines. First, there's smooth muscle, found in places like your GI tract, producing those sustained, involuntary movements. Then you've got cardiac muscle, which literally keeps your heart pumping day and night. And finally, skeletal muscle. This is the big one, making up roughly 40% of your total body weight and driving all your voluntary movements. If you were to visualize these in a dynamic 3D space, you'd immediately notice how distinct their original shapes and movements really are.
All right, let's zoom in on that skeletal muscle and see how it's actually built, going right from the macro level down to the microscopic.
On a macro level, a muscle is anchored by a fixed origin on a bone, it has a bulky middle, and it ends at a movable insertion point. Picture a 3D animation of an arm bending. That incredible flexible movement happens because that insertion point is being physically pulled. Now, if we zoom way in, the internal architecture is just mind-blowing. Muscles are tightly bundled into complex fascicles, which then break down even further into individual muscle fibers.
And those individual skeletal muscle fibers, they are highly unique. Under a microscope, they have this incredibly organized, striated or striped appearance, thanks to alternating bands of internal proteins. They're also really long and cylindrical. But the craziest part? They actually have multiple nuclei. And those nuclei get pushed all the way to the peripheral edges of the cell, literally just to make room for the core contraction machinery.
So, we know what they look like, but how do they actually generate force? Let's talk about the real science of strength. Have you ever done a simple biceps curl? That's what we call a concentric contraction. Powered by the sliding filament theory and fueled by ATP energy, the tension inside your muscle literally overcomes the weight you're lifting. Microscopic filaments slide past one another, the entire muscle physically shortens, and boom, it pulls the bone with it.
Now, not all muscle fibers are built the same, which means your physical performance directly dictates your biology. Think about it. A marathon runner relies heavily on slow-twitch type 1 fibers. These don't pack a massive punch, but they are incredibly fatigue-resistant. They can go for hours. On the flip side, a sprinter relies on type 2B fast-twitch fibers for that maximum explosive force. The catch? They burn out incredibly fast.
It's also absolutely crucial to realize our bodies are bound by strict physics. Take the force-velocity relationship. The faster you try to contract a muscle, the less total force it can actually produce. Period. Then there's the length-tension relationship. Your biceps, for example, are strongest right in the middle of a flex. If your arm is totally straight or completely bent, those microscopic proteins we talked about just don't have the optimal overlap to grab onto each other.
But hey, it's not just the muscles doing all the heavy lifting. Tendon stiffness is a massive factor. If you have lower tendon stiffness, your tendons act a lot like springs, storing and releasing energy for explosive movements. This is exactly why you'll see basketball players developing super flexible tendons. It maximizes their range of motion and totally boosts their vertical leap on the court.
With over 650 distinct muscles in the human body, it sounds like a nightmare to learn them all, right? Let's look at how we can logically group them.
The good news is, for practical things like weight training, you absolutely don't need to memorize all 650. We can simplify the whole body into 11 major macro groups, like your glutes, chest, and quads. Once you understand how these major groups operate, you can easily put together a balanced, highly effective workout program that covers the entire musculoskeletal system without missing a beat. So what do these groups actually do? Well, flexors decrease the angle at a joint, like bending your elbow, while extensors do the opposite and straighten them out. Abductors pull your limbs away from your body's midline, and adductors bring them right back in. Knowing these broad categories really helps you visualize the full 3D mechanical potential and flexibility of how we actually move.
Even the naming conventions are basically a cheat code for mapping the body. Take the temporalis muscle on the side of your skull. It's simply named that because it sits squarely over the temporal bone. So once you grasp a few basic rules, identifying muscles turns into a super logical puzzle instead of just brutal rote memorization.
Now for the real meta solution. How do we actually learn and retain all this dense information without losing our minds?
Let's be real. If you've ever found yourself totally zoning out during a massive lecture or reading dense biomechanics PDFs only to forget everything the very next day, you're experiencing massive cognitive overload. Your biological brain is amazing, sure, but sometimes it desperately needs a digital second brain to process all that raw data. This is where smart digital assistants completely change the game. Imagine a hidden AI tool working quietly and flexibly in the background, specifically built to organize, summarize, and extract ideas from all the heavy academic data we just went through. Instead of you spending hours painfully hunting for the origin of a muscle, this AI does the heavy lifting for you, in absolute record time.
It's incredibly straightforward. First, you just upload your complex PDFs or lecture links. Second, you let the tool instantly generate a custom visual mind map of the whole topic. And third, it automatically generates custom study flashcards so you can test yourself on concepts like that sliding filament theory. It's literally like having a personal tutor on demand.
And here's where it goes from cool to absolutely mind-blowing. You can command this tool to take a dry 500-page textbook and transform it into a highly engaging two-person conversational audio summary. You can target very specific topics, like focusing entirely on fast twitch fibers. You can even customize the dialect. Want it explained in Egyptian Arabic? Done. You can even use it to extract slides for your own study group. It offers complete flexibility to match exactly how you learn best.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one big thought. Your nervous and muscular systems are literal biological supercomputers, and you know the mechanics now. But given the absolute power of these background digital tools, how will you leverage them to turbocharge your own mind and push your learning limits even further? The ultimate tools are right there waiting for you. It's up to you to put them to work.